guys, and welcome back. This is ChosenArchitect, and today we're jumping back into some more FTB Skies. And well, as you can see underneath my feet, today we're diving into occultism. So I hope you guys are ready. So today we're going to be diving back into our FTB Skies world. And well, I have a lot of plans, but one of the major ones is getting into occultism. And we are going to be diving headfirst into occultism here in just a moment. But I did want to mention a couple of corrections when dealing with Forcecraft. One is, well, inside the Forcecraft here, the backpack is indeed not sus. So we got that corrected. But no, honestly, one of the cool parts that I wanted to mention was I was kind of unaware that you can apply multiple modifiers. So over in our Forcecraft area, I was unaware of this, but now that I know this makes this even better. So in here I have a force pick, and what I can do is apply multiple levels of speed, as you can see right here. If I go one over, you can see that we cannot infuse, but that's 5 modifiers of the speed. And I can also apply cobweb, and I can apply multiple things. So this should give me like a speed 5 boost, also applying silk touch. And so when we infuse this, of course, it's going to take some power, but when we infuse it, it will apply all those things. So now we have efficiency 5 and silk touch. That's quite nice. And the fact that it is so cheap to do that, like all you need is some force gems, kind of bypasses the need for a standard enchanting table. I just wanted to mention that because I didn't know that. Now, however, once it is modified, it cannot be infused again. So we cannot apply another modifier to this once it's already been enchanted or infused. But pretty darn cool. Now, I wonder, since these are enchants, can they be stripped off of these tools as such? Because that would be kind of powerful. And yes, they can. So they are basic enchants in which they can also be stripped off. So if you're wanting to farm very specific enchants, such as unbreaking and such, well, you can do that so long as you have the appropriate ingredients. That is pretty darn cool. Now, after all that, back to our regularly scheduled broadcast. And well, we're going to be diving into occultism, like I said. Now, occultism, the reason we need to get into it is because we need to make a dimensional mineshaft, which is sort of a quarry. In reality, it is a quarry, but looking at this, you may be going, oh my goodness, this looks super confusing just by looking at JEI. But I promise you, it's not that bad. And getting into this mod is not too bad. However, there are quite a few steps involved with you know, putting these things together. However, the book does a really good job of explaining everything to you. So let's look at that occultism book. So just look at it with me. This is the occultism book, and we're just going to look at it. No, I'm just kidding. We're actually going to open it up. But this book has a lot of information in it, and it may be sort of empty for you at first. And if you want to go ahead and expand everything, all you have to do, there'll be a button up in the top right here that'll say show all, basically, or continue to mark these all as viewed. And so you definitely want to do that. I think doing that is pretty good, but if you don't want to be spoiled, then don't do it. Just continue to do everything as we go. So we basically have already started this. So it does explain that in this book, and it's an interesting petrol-y book. So it is a book that has a guide built into it. But when you click on any of these, it does pull open the patchouli description of the items. And then over here we can search very specifically any particular item that we may be looking into. And this will come in handy later. But for right now, we really just need to get started with understanding kind of the basics. And that is, well, the soul flame. Or I guess you should call it by its actual name, the spirit fire. The spirit fire we have used in prior episodes, and it was used early on to kind of help us with things. As you can see, there's even a ponder for it, which is kind of nice, built in from Create. And this is what we're going to toss some things into. But we should be fine in this pack, as we already have a lot of the things that we get from that, such as otherworld saplings and even raw isium. Actually, I think it's pronounced Isnium? Isnium. I think it's Isnium. Now, bear with me on the pronunciations of things, as I do believe most of these come from, like, Islamic folklore, so they're going to be in sort of Arabic, kind of. So that is going to cause a little bit of translation problems for me. I'll have a hard time pronouncing a lot of these things, so just bear with me, as I do call some of these things different names, such as genie. I will probably refer to it as a genie or Jin, and just, yeah, that's just going to be a thing. Now, before we fully jump into this mod, let's actually get an area set up to play around with all this stuff. I think the perfect place for this all to go is going to be on the Sky Island. And it is really perfect because a lot of these buildings I'm going to probably tear down. Actually, I may not need to tear them down, but a lot of the stuff is circular. So I'm going to be setting up and clearing out some of these circular areas and getting them nice and flattened out for us to use with all of the spells and things like, well, if you can even call them spells, rituals that we're going to be doing here soon. So I think to get this area looking even better, I want to use some of the wood from this tree. And this thing is pretty cool. So normally you'd have to go through some hoops to get this, but thankfully this sapling you do just get given. And this log is pretty darn cool. Now, otherworldly stone would also be kind of useful. So I'm going to go ahead and make that spirit fire. And we just toss stone into it, I believe. And don't worry about this catching your stuff on fire. It's not going to do that. Is it normal stone that goes into the spirit fire? Ah, yes, it's andesite, not normal stone. So as you can see, we toss it all in there and we get that converted. And I believe, yeah, this is going to be used for a lot of other things. But as we can see from the recipes, we can make slabs out of it. It's used for a lot of other ingredients that we're going to be getting into. But I want to use it mostly to sort of set up our areas that we're going to put our rituals. Now, to be able to get back and forth, of course, I have a way to get back home, but I need a way to get here. And so I'm going to be using another one of these stabilized warp scrolls to set my position. And now we've recorded our position, and so I should be able to go back and forth if we happen to need to go back to the base. But I do have my platform set up, so I think it's time to sort of dive into the first parts of occultism. Now, there's one part of occultism that I almost feel like specifically is out to get me. I hate killing pigs, but to progress in this, we do need to kill pigs. And so we're going to need a butcher knife. And man, I'm going to have to capture some pigs. And let's just pretend they're digital pigs and they're not real ones from the normal game, because we're going to be spawning them. And, well, we have to kill them with this butcher knife. Thankfully, we do have a place in which to do this already set up. So yes, remember this area? Well, this is where we're going to be putting our pig and spawning this. And I believe last episode I said that the opposite of how my actual light switches work in my house, I think I mentioned that off, like with the down position, was them turning on. That is not true. I pretty much have this opposite. But yeah, we need to kill them. And when we kill them with the butcher's knife, there's a chance of us getting tallow. We need this to make candles. And in candles are going to be kind of an important part for making some of the later game rituals, even the early game ones as well, as we move into our first little ritual here that you can see. And so we are going to need at least enough for 4 candles, but I'm going to be harvesting several of these. Ooh, and while I'm here, I might as well one-shot that. Oh my, we one-shot that? Okay. So with all that done, we should be able to make our way back. You gotta love this. And whoop. It's so cool. Our Evo has only gotten better and better. Oh, I love this. All right. Now that we have that, let's dive into our first little bit of ritual. We are going to need this ritual chalk. And to do that, we take impure chalk and we should be able to make this. Let's see. Occultism and chalk. So impure chalk. This is going to require otherworld ashes, which we toss the otherworld wood into, and then the burnt other stone. Now in this pack, getting the overworld wood is pretty easy, but normally you'd kind of have to venture out and you'd have to eat one of the fish, one of these, the demon dream fruit. It looks like a fish though. You'd have to eat one of these and to be able to see these logs. Thankfully, we already have them, so that's not going to be a big deal. So I'm going to take a bit of this and a bit of this, and I guess, yeah, we just toss it in here, right? So, boop. And this actually needs to go in there. The other one was not that, right? It was, so that's the wood, and this is other stuff. Oh, we have to smelt that in a smeltery. So now that I have that done, I should be able to toss that in, and there we go. And now we get white chalk, which places these like runic symbols down. Now we do have to kind of, as you can see, they do change. But if we place it down, well, we can't just get it back. We want to use a chalk brush to erase them away. Now, inside of our book, it is going to show exactly what we need to make. And this is going to be one of our first rituals that we're going to be making. And we see that it also has a pedestal in the middle, and that is going to be the sacrificial bowls. And we need a sacrificial bowl in there, which is just made of the other stone. But let's go ahead and get this sort of visualized. Thankfully, we can hit this button, and we can place down our first little ritual. And so we can click these to switch it over. I don't think the actual icons matter. We just need to make sure that we have them placed in. And we have all of that done. We need to make some candles. So this is where those candles come into play and why we went out and got those done. So the basic candles, and we're going to be building a lot of these rituals. And some of them are going to be stationary. Some of them we can always, place in every now and then. So this is the other thing we're going to need, a sacrificial bowl. And the specific one in the middle is going to require it to be surrounded by gold. And that goes right there in the middle. There we go. So this is our first little ritual done. And it tells us a little bit about what this is going to be doing. And this is the Avar circle. Honestly, me pronouncing these things are going to be awful. But Aviar circle. I'm trying my best. So that is going to be this, and it is going to lead us into making some things. So now we're not done yet. We still need to dive into placing more of these bowls around. So we do need more of these. So let's see. I'm going to need more other stone. But I think for the first ritual, we can actually get away with only using 4. I think, yeah, this only needs 4 bowls, as you can see right here. But it needs 1 of each raw material, which we should easily be able to grab. But I'm just going to place 4 bowls here on the corners. And then we need to worry about how do we actually get this bound book that it's needing. So it mentions right here to make a slow crusher, a foliate, I believe it's foliate. Which is, I believe, a demon, which is kind of how this works. Like I said, it's all based on folklore. But to get this book, we need, I think, just to combine it with this. It should be in here. So it's been a little bit since we messed with this, but here's the regular book. So yes, we're going to need all of those things. Looks like we do not have a book and quill. We're going to need several of these, so I might as well make a few. And we're going to combine this with some purified ink, which needs black dye. Black dye is then going to be tossed. Pretty straightforward. Let's go and get that in here. So, boop. And then back to occultism. And making our first book. Yeah, okay. And we're also going to need white dye. That's pretty straightforward. Perfect. Now, it's not bound yet until we put it in here with this, with the Dictionary of Spirits. Then it now becomes a bound book. So that's important to keep a note if you're trying to figure out how to actually get the bound version. Now, to get the crusher and to get this going, really all we have to do now is supply the outside ingredients. So I now have all of the raw materials, so I'm going to place them in to the sacrificial bowls. These are going to get consumed, and then we place the book in the middle, and it says started summoning Follet Ore Crusher. And this is going to be the base tier of the Ore Crusher. It's a demon. It's kind of an interesting thing. It's an entity that is an ore crusher. As you can see, that disappeared, and we should see these things slowly disappearing. They do take a little bit of time to actually do its process. You can see it just consumed there. Going to consume the other one here in a moment. And we can speed this up with the time in the bottle. If you get it just right, you can actually speed this up. And so keep that in mind later on in game. If you have a time in the bottle, you can speed it up here, which is very, very nice. And there he is. So yes, I have no idea how to pronounce that name, but let's just call him Ore Crusher. Hello, little dude. And the way he's going to work is we can take a raw material and he'll pick it up and he'll crush it. I know, right? It sounds pretty crazy, but each tier is going to up the amount I believe it crushes at. So this one's only going to or double, I believe. I think it does a double, or it might do a single. I don't know if they've changed the config or anything like that. But it's pretty slow, it takes its time, and then it just spits it out on the ground. It doubles. So already this is better than most things, right? Because most of the things in game will not take a raw material like that and straight up double it. But this will. And I think it goes even higher. So the next tier will do times 4 and then times 6 and then times 8, I think. And so yeah, that's kind of what we're getting into here. Now, this is only a basic ritual and sort of explains how we get started. But we need to work towards making something different. So the thing that we're going to be working towards, the main thing, is getting ourselves a miner right here. So we are going to need a genie that goes inside of one of these lamps. And you can see this is a isnium pickaxe. And then we have an empty magic lamp. And this right here is going to lead to this. But we also need to craft the dimensional mineshaft, which is this thing right here. And this is going to require all higher tier things. By the way, to access this guy's inventory, shift right click, and you can see this guy has a decay timer. So the early ones, they decay. The later tier, the higher tier demons, they do not decay. But it will decay, and I think we can, just by putting the items directly in there, you can get them going as well. But it does pick up the items dropped on the ground in front of it. Now let's for a moment just step back and take a look at the actual thing we're trying to go for, which is going to be the dimensional mineshaft. Now, the JEI is really nice for this because it shows us what we're going to need, including the book we're going to need. And then it also explains to us what ritual we're going to need. And when we click on the ritual here, it doesn't necessarily take us to it, but we do need to see what ritual we are. And it's the Strigors, I believe. I can't roll my R's very well. And saying it in its actual pronunciation, I can't even attempt to pronounce. But we need to look for this in our book. Now, we do have these down here, which talks a little bit about them. And we are looking for a very specific one, which is this one right here. Now, it requires us to have a gold, white, and this purplish red chalk. And that is going to be the one thing that we have to do, is we have to go through the tiers of chalk. And to get that, well, we're going to need this Alfred essence, and that is going to require us to kill this guy. Now, this requires its own summoning to get done. And that's going to take us up to that chalk, and then, of course, the other tiers are not that bad. These are obsidian and crushed instone. The main one is the impure red chalk that we're going to need. We also need this essence as an in-game thing, I believe. So we need that throughout one of these right here. It's the Alfred essence. So we're going to have to do this anyways, and it actually comes after the dimensional mineshaft, which is kind of funny because you need it to even make the dimensional mineshaft. So this is going to require its own ritual to actually get done, and it does explain this inside of the guides. So this chalk is not a big deal, but going a little bit further, it should explain a little bit about this particular ritual. So for me to get that Alfred essence, this is what we're going to have to set up. We're going to have to sacrifice a cow. That's going to be fun. So we're going to have to obtain a cow, sacrifice a cow, and we're also going to need the Book of Binding Alfred. And we're going to need netherite, or netherrack, looks like nether quartz, flint, and gunpowder. And then we're also going to need to use the unbound or what is it called? The Abra's open conjure to do this. Now for this ritual, we're actually going to need that purplish chalk, and this is where this guy comes into play. I did accidentally kill the other one, so I just had to resummon a new one. But this guy is how you're going to get instone, so you just give him instone, and it'll crush it up, and also it will crush up the obsidian as well. And we are going to need that to make the upgraded chalk, the impure purple chalk. So while I was at it, I also went ahead and made the impure golden, as it's quite simple to make that. Now, do we have a quest for occultism? I think we do, or do we not have one in here? We do. It's under Mastering Occult. Very nice. So do we get any sort of bonus items for doing this? We get some chalk. Looks like we get a little bit of tallow, which is kind of nice for making that knife. We get a golden choo-choo spawn egg. Okay. Not sure what that is. Oh, we even get some spirit attuned crystals for free. And then we also made that, so we get all of those little bonuses. And then we even get a spirit attuned gem. Very nice, very nice. So all of this leads into what we're ultimately going to be trying to make. Now, this is going to require some skulls. We do have skulls. If you don't, there are some easy ways of getting skulls. So bear with me on that. Let's go ahead and put those away. And I think we should be pretty good. We'll have to use some of these ingredients later on. But yeah, skulls. So if you don't have skulls, an easy way to get it is going to be putting on a beheading enchant. And so that is going to be probably the best way to get skulls. But yeah, this is going to be the ritual that we're about to set up. So we put all of these in. It doesn't matter, I don't think, what direction the head is facing. But I've got to get all of these chalk pieces in. So yet again, just like the last ritual, we do have our bowl that goes in the middle. And then, of course, we're going to need some way to get the items into this ritual. And that is going to be through the other sacrificial bowls that are going to go on the outside. Pretty straightforward. And now, this is where this is going to get a little interesting. We need to get all the ingredients in to summon this thing. Now, all of the ingredients are pretty straightforward. We have netherrack, gunpowder, quartz, and then the flint and steel. And then we have the bound book of Alfred, which is going to require some purple dye. So we can get all of that together. And I might have to fight this more than once to get enough essence, but there we go. There's the book of Alfred. And we combine this together. And we have everything we're going to need. So if we put the required ingredients in here, and it doesn't matter where it goes on the pedestals, even if you have multiple pedestals, just so long as they are within range. And then we hit that, and it's going to start preparing the summon. This is not really a boss battle too much. We're probably going to one-shot this boss, if you can even call it a boss. But it's really the items we're after. So make sure you have a magnet. I am on a sky island, so I'm going to have to deal with that. And I can speed this up, like I had mentioned before. So what I can do is this, and it is going to consume the items pretty quick, I think. And it should have all the items needed, I think. Oh, it's got this particle effect, meaning something is off. That is right. We're going to have to sacrifice a cow. I almost forgot. Back to the mob duplicator. This thing is really becoming quite handy. I just took the cow that I had, and we're going to take the cow from here. And I might actually do a couple of cows. Let's make a couple of mob imprisonment tools. There we go. We'll grab that cow, turn that off, because I do not want this. And we'll put our cow back peacefully where it was at, being milked. So without further ado, we'll summon our cow, and I think we have to kill it. And there it goes. Now the operations are going to start working, and we should be able to speed this up like I just said. It looks like the particle effects are working. There it goes. And it's consuming them faster. And there we go. So yeah, we've got to kill this guy quite fast, in which I just did. It's going to spawn some blazes, which we don't want to set this place on fire. It is mostly wood anyways. But there we go. So I think that worked. And we should have gotten the essence. As you can see, we ended up getting 2. Now, I'm definitely going to need to do this a couple of times. If 2 is all I get from this, I've definitely got to get more of these guys killed. So with that, now we have the ability to make that red chalk, or the impure red chalk, that we can turn into the normal chalk. There we go. And so now we can pretty much make all of the rituals. It was pretty much the only thing holding us back. Now, thankfully, in our case, we have everything here needed to craft this. However, we do need this book. And so it's just going to be green dye in order to make that. And that's pretty much it. This is going to be a bound book of genie. At least I'm calling it genie. And that's how we're going to be making this. Now, we do need the Isium blocks. And we also need the spirit attuned crystals. And to make those, it's just diamonds tossed into the spirit fire. Very, very straightforward. But it does require this Striger's higher binding, which is the thing that we're gonna have to set up over here. So looking at this ritual, I do notice these are the purple ones that were needed, not the red ones. So now the quest sort of makes sense why down here we have this coming after making the dimensional mineshaft. So the essence, yeah, that's pretty cool. So that makes sense. But we might use this. I'm not quite sure. This is, I think, is more or less used for the higher tier familiar miners and stuff like that for the red. But at least we got it anyways. That's the important part. So back to putting this up. So again, if we take these gems, we can actually make the crystals. We already have 4 of them, and we are going to actually need these placed down. And then the rest is just chalk and candles. Now for this ritual, it's just the same. It's pretty simple. So once you get this all down, this all becomes pretty straightforward. We're gonna need a block of the isnium, and then we have the spirit attuned crystal that it's gonna need, 4 of these blocks. And I'm also going to need, it looks like, another sacrificial bowl. I almost forgot. So, or I guess I did forget. So I'm gonna need another one. And this was gonna be for the gold. And so place that down. Now this one's going to take a little bit of time to craft. That's where I've been mentioning to speed this up, because you are going to really want to do that. So here we go. We have the genie bound. And so we click that into here, and everything should be good if we see the good purple particle effects. And 16 is a pretty good rate. And there we go. It is now consuming all of the bits. And should spit this out. Now, like I've mentioned before, to utilize this, it's a really nifty thing. It generates ores, like I've mentioned. It can be used in combination with all of the other demons and stuff. And I have automated this process, I believe, back in all the mods 7 to the sky, I believe. When I had played through that mod pack, I had definitely dove deep into this mod and actually used it for that whole process, because there wasn't a great way to process ores in that pack outside of occultism. So that was pretty neat. And honestly, in this pack, this is a great way to process ores as well, as I still think these crusher demons are the best way to process ores. Now, if you want to use this actual thing, this dimensional mineshaft, it can do some different things for you. So these are what you would actually place in. You would place in these golden genie lamps. And right here, it says this one will mine random blocks in the mining dimension. This one will mine random ores in the mining dimension. And this one says we'll mine random ores and deep slate ores in the mining dimension. And this one will mine random ores, deep slate ores, and rare ores in the mining dimension. So yes, they can do different things. This one is just like random blocks. So if you want to do block collection, this is a great way to go. Like I said, this is just ores and so on and so forth, and just different materials and types of ores. Keep in mind, though, the complexity of each one of these crafts definitely go up. So the one that can mine rare ores is going to be your most complex here, requiring Dragon Breath, Totem of Dying, and another star. Whereas if you go down in tiers, it doesn't require as much to get those up and running, as you can see here clearly. Now, these do take durability damage, and the higher tier does not have as much as the base. This is, or I guess the debug. Oh, actually, no, it does have higher. So this has a durability of 1600, and I believe they can be enchanted with mending and unbreaking. So you'll have to keep an eye out on it. I think they do break if you do not check on them. Now, all in all, I have to say this is probably the most rushed occultism sort of video you will ever see. Because we straight up go from nothing about occultism to diving into one of the latest game best items that this has to offer, which is this miner that I'm holding in my hand. And if you want to learn more about this mod, and as I dive deeper into these things, I recommend checking out the All the Mods 7 to the Sky playlist that is on my channel in my playlist section, where I did go and cover a lot, pretty much everything about occultism, I think minus the storage in that video. So if this is something you're interested in checking out, be sure to click that subscribe button and check that out. Of course, guys, I'm going to have to sign off on today's video. It has been quite the journey thus far, and we are getting very, very close to endgame, like true endgame, and having everything on that bottom row of the pyramid completely unlocked. Now, of course, guys, if you did enjoy, be sure to like this video and also click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And it's also now time to thank the supporter of today's video. And that huge thanks is going to go to Storm Reborn Gaming over on YouTube, becoming a YouTube member and supporting in one of the best ways possible. Of course, guys, there are many ways to support, not just here on YouTube. If that's something you're interested in, you can always check out the Discord as well. Discord is another great way of supporting the channel via the members or just joining in general and just chilling and hanging out. It helps with my mental health, you know. Every now and then I like to hang out in the voice channels and actually chat with some real peeps. So guys, I appreciate you very, very much. I thank you so much for hanging out and watching this episode. If you learned something, comment down below what you might have learned or what I may have done wrong. so I can always learn. I always learn new things from you guys. So of course, I appreciate it. I'll see you, of course, in the next episode. I've said, of course, way too much. As always, thanks for watching. I just cannot for the life of me get him into the bottle. Just go. Get in the bottle. Oh.